His case set the tone of SCOTUS for all future Second Amendment cases. Without McDonald, there would have been no Heller, and without Heller, there would have been no Bruen. Otis McDonald, civil rights hero and Second Amendment champion, filed the case that overturned Chicago's handgun law in 2010. McDonald versus City of Chicago, 561 U.S. 742, year 2010, was a landmark decision of the United States Supreme Court, ruled 5-4, that the Second Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, which guarantees the right of the people to keep and bear arms, applies to state and local governments as well as the federal government. McDonald was a South Side Chicago grandfather who wanted a handgun to protect his family from local hoodlums and fought it all the way to the Supreme Court and vindicated his rights. Thanks to his victory, the Second Amendment now joins the First Amendment and the other Bill of Rights that are guaranteed. The city of Chicago rejected that original meaning and declared instead that the state and local governments should be free to restrict gun ownership as they saw fit. Otis McDonald forced the nation to keep its word, vanquishing Chicago's handgun ban in the process. This expanded the constitutional liberty of all Americans going forward. He was a civil rights hero who made his country a better place. The elderly man insisted he needed a gun to shield his family from gangs and drug dealers that terrorized his Morgan Park neighborhood. He felt the Constitution gave him that right. A classic warrior, one of his favorite lines was, "If you have not found something you are willing to die for, you have not yet lived." He had a duty to stand up for the rights that has been taken from all Americans. Born in 1933 to a Louisiana sharecropper, Mr. McDonald came to Chicago in 1952 after serving time in the Army. He eventually landed a job as a janitor at the University of Chicago and worked his way up to maintenance engineer. He had left school at the age of 14, never earning a high school diploma. But while working at U of C, he returned to school, earning an associate's degree from Kennedy King College, and was retired in 1996. McDonald versus City of Chicago was a hard-fought battle. The case was filed in 2008 and spent 2 years working in its way through the system. Then, Mayor Richard M. Daley was adamant that the city's ban on handguns remain intact and put the city's full force behind fighting this case in court. It was the first case in a succession of legal battles that put Chicago and Illinois in the National Rifle Association's line of fire. After the ruling, the gun lobby turned its attention to resources to fight other restrictions. The courts later ruled that Chicago must allow gun ranges within the city limits. Though that case is still being litigated, a federal judge ruled that Chicago must allow retail gun shops to operate in the city. Though Mr. McDonald was not a plaintiff in concealed carry lawsuits against Illinois, he stayed active in the fight until his health failed him. Attending rallies and speaking to groups last year, the Illinois General Assembly was forced to pass a law allowing citizens to conceal carry weapons in the state. "We couldn't have done it without him," says a spokesman from Illinois Carry, a plaintiff in the concealed carry lawsuit. You know, folks, that touches directly to me. As many of you know, I'm a firearms instructor in Chicago. And when I think about this and I've lost number, but maybe the 20,000 Chicagoans who have just taken my class over the last 10 years. And I know that they are now protecting themselves. They're doing it legally in a city that is infested with crime. Who knows how many individuals who have taken my class have used the Second Amendment to protect themselves in a dynamic situation, a lethal encounter, or a forcible felony. I love this story as I mention it, or I try to mention it in most of my cases. And I asked folks, do you know the name Otis McDonald? He was a pioneer in the city of Chicago and an anti-gun city for the Second Amendment. And he went through a lot of hell, no doubt. I'm grateful to Mr. McDonald, as I come from a family, a long line of folks who exercised their Second Amendment right. I remember in Chicago when it was illegal to have a handgun in the state, even though you were licensed, or in the city, even though you were licensed. And at that time, you were forced to register your firearm, of course, pay the Chicago Police Department for that unconstitutional registration. I think it's a fantastic story. It's good to know some of our Second Amendment history. I'm so grateful to be a part of it. I wish I was able to meet Mr. McDonald, shake that man's hand, to know that he has set the pace for law-abiding Americans in the state of Illinois to protect themselves and exercise their constitutional right for generations to come. I wish I can have an impact of that magnitude, but I pick away every single day through this channel, and I pick away every single week and month over the years in my classes, promoting the Second Amendment, getting more people who would not have otherwise been involved in exercising their Second Amendment right to do it, and do it in a responsible, well-educated fashion. So I just think it's great. Folks, I appreciate you. Please subscribe to this channel, as that is my goal, to continue spreading the Second Amendment, but I can't do it without you. I need your help as you are carrying this message out. Every time you comment, every time you like and share these videos, you're getting the Second Amendment out there, and that's the goal, to bring more into the fold and let us be responsible, well-educated protectors. As always, I appreciate you very much for tuning in, lending me your ear. You can find me across all social media at IPAC Instructor, and remain safe.